Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 30 of the Sam Hossack Media Podcast. Two special guests today, and our first is the head coach of the Brock men's hockey team and the acting GM of the Barrie Colts. Please welcome Marty Williamson.
Good to be here, Sam.
Absolutely, Marty, and we'll go back years ago when you first started with the Barrie Colts. Talk about your first job around with them as the head coach and how that kind of came about.
Well, it's pretty exciting for me. Hockey became full-time, and, I'd been coaching the Aurora Tigers, and we won the Royal Bank Cup, and it was a fantastic year, and there were some ownership changes that were going on in Barrie, and the opportunity, came to me, and, it was fantastic. It was kind of a dream job for me, and I remember stepping on the ice for the first time with Brian Little and Hunter Tremblay, and BJ Crombie was our captain, and it was just a whole different level. I had a wonderful team in Aurora, but the OHL is just a step up. And, I can just remember Brian, doing those drills, and it was like every drill he was shot out of a cannon. Like, he worked so hard in practice. And, I just remember going home to my wife with a smile on my face saying, this is fantastic.
Now, a guy you mentioned there, Brian Little, obviously he's had some injury problems lately, and wish him the best. But how amazing was it to coach that guy every single day?
It's a dream, especially to get your first, two things for me really stand out of that year. To get my first job, to have a guy like BJ Crombie be your captain. He was an outstanding, just really helped me, kind of get my feet wet. And I had coached BJ when he was in Newmarket, so I knew about him and he knew about me. And, it was kind of like, I might have been a rookie making a couple of mistakes, but he was kind of like, he'd tell the guys, just relax, he knows what he's doing, trust him, this kind of thing. And, so it was a great growing period for me. And then my first true superstar, to have Brian Little as my, first superstar player in the OHL, you just couldn't ask for a lower maintenance player. Like, just came every game to play. Never was an issue with him. So coachable, so to be able to interact with him. He was a quiet leader. He was different than Beener as far as not a yeller and a screamer in the dressing room and to get the guys going, but just led by example. And I remember watching on TV and seeing him go behind the net and take that slap shot in the head, the injury that he just took. And, we've talked, and I feel so bad for him. And, he wants to keep playing, that's for sure. So, but that was, just a real luxury for me to have my first, star and captain to be as good a guys as those two guys were.
Absolutely, and we don't want to spend the whole time talking about Little, but he had his jersey number retired by the Colts. So how special was that as the only player to ever have his jersey number retired by that team?
It was fantastic, and unfortunately we had a game, so they did a taped thing with me in that because I would have really liked to have been there. And his whole family's a great family. I really got to know his mom and dad well, and it's quite an honor, but it's well deserved.
For sure. And fast forward a couple years later, your last season in Barrie brings in Alex Pietrangelo. Talk about how that trade impacted the team and the run you guys went on in the second half when he came in.
Yeah, it was an interesting trade because, we weren't sure what was happening with Alex as far as whether he was being sent back after the World Juniors and all that. So it really went down to the final, minute. And, it was tough giving up Brian Strome. That's the player at that time that, he wasn't a big part of that team, but we knew he was going to have a good future. And but to get somebody like Alex, you've got to give up, a top young player. It's just the way it is in the league. So, he just took our team to a different level. We had a really good team. TJ Brody was a warrior on that team, and I have a ton of. It's good to see how well he's done too. And but to have Alex, that really helped us get to the final. And unfortunately, we couldn't get past Windsor in that final. But just a super addition and a real treat. I didn't know Alex that well, but just what a pro he was, and how he handled everything. I don't think he really wanted to be in junior, but he handled everything really well.
Now, obviously, that season, Barrie makes the OHL final. Just talk about the buzz around the Barrie Molson Center with the fans. How exciting was it to bring that OHL final back to Barrie?
Well, it was fantastic. It was, the whole city was, as you said, buzzing, and everybody talking, the anticipation to the series. And, unfortunately, we just needed a break or two. We played so well in game one, and they scored that late goal, and then Hall scored in overtime, and when we took the penalty. And, it was a tough fight. I just believe if we got off to a better start, there was a lot of drama going on because we had drafted Reichel. And it just everything was kind of really buzzing at that time, as you said. And an exciting series, two great teams. They had a lot of great players on that team too. And Ryan Ellis was always a nemesis, and and Hall being so good too. And but it was a special year. I think we only lost 7 games. I think all year. I can't remember our record, but it was pretty amazing. And then the playoff run was an outstanding run too until the final there.
Now that next season you headed to Niagara, so take us through the process of leaving Barrie and how do you kind of land the job with Niagara?
Yeah, that was a tough one. It really was. Howie and I had become good friends and that, and I was just looking for a little security at that time with, length of contract, and we kind of had a little disagreement over it. And, Howie believed, you needed to trust them, and, you didn't need a 5-year contract. That handshake was good enough, and it probably was. I do have a ton of respect for Howie, but the Ice Dogs were offering me a different kind of opportunity with a 5-year contract and to be coaching GM. And, it's just one of those gut calls you kind of make at the time. And we just thought maybe it was the right move for our family, to do it. And it's amazing how things come full circle, and you end up coming back and helping out with Howie and that. And, we're both believers in fate. And, I don't know if, the Dale Howard-Chuck era would have kind of happened, and that was fantastic for Barrie and fantastic for Howie and the community. So, I think everything kind of works its way out.
Before we get into Niagara more, obviously Dale Howard-Chuck, a good friend of yours, just talk about how sad the news was when you kind of heard that.
Well, it was, that year was just, it's a year I won't forget. It was just, to find out that he had got cancer and then to lose him so quickly. And then in the middle there, to think that he had beat it, it was a roller coaster ride. And, I knew Dale, I only knew Dale as a competitor for the first bit, and, always the most respect. And, he coached hard and I coached hard, but, we could talk after games, and, just a great guy. And that's, the main reason the whole kind of advisor role kind of came back, is that he reached out to me and wanted me to come back to the organization and thought we could do something special and win a championship for Barrie and for Howie. And, my relationship with Howie has always been fantastic. And so, it just kind of lined up. So that's what we were really excited about. And, I remember him and I being together that summer and talking about the team. And then at the end of the summer, we had found out that he had got cancer. And so then we were kind of planning, okay, it's going to be just a bit of a bobble. And, we brought in Warren Reichel, and we had Todd there. And, Dale was going to kind of see the team from the outside. And, it was tough on Dale. He was going through a lot of pain and a lot of, battles. And again, it looked like, I think it was like May, June that he had beat it. He rang the bell, and, him and I were talking, and we were so excited, and we were talking about the team going forward, and we thought we had a special team. And, and then, I remember him phoning me up, telling me that the cancer had come back. And, it just seemed like a different voice in him a little bit. He was so determined to beat cancer the first time. But when he got the news, and I don't think he told me the whole story, but he just didn't seem quite the same, like when he had to go through that battle again. And then unfortunately we lost him so quickly. So.
Yeah, obviously it's tough. We both knew Dale pretty well. And I mean, the news, first of all, like from my side of things, it was hard to hear when you have someone that you respect that much and know he's going through that. And I was so happy to see him ring that bell. And I mean, like everyone's sharing it on social media and stuff, all the boys were and stuff. And then when it kind of came back, it was hard. And then like the day I found out he was gone, my daddy called me, and I just remember crying. Like I was like, oh my God, like the season's right around the corner. How are the guys gonna deal with this? Like it's tragic, and these guys that knew him. I know there wasn't that many guys left on Barrie at the time that had played for him, but everyone
Yeah.
knew who he was in Barrie, and it was awful.
Yeah, and everybody loved him. Everybody liked him. You know, he was just such a likable guy. And you know, I got that phone call on Sunday. He passed away on the Tuesday, and he knew it was happening. And you know, he's kind of thanking me, and I didn't know what to say. You know, you don't know what to say to a guy when he's saying goodbye to you, and it's kind of like, well, no, you can still beat this. You know, we're still. And it was like, no, that wasn't going to happen at that point. And then he's talking to me about my kid, telling me that your kid's a good player, and he's going to work on this and work on that. And it was kind of like I'm just talking to my old friend, and a couple of days later, he's gone. So it's a tough one.
Now back to Niagara, like we were talking about, a story that came up on Showbound with Michael Raskin and Ethan Cardwell was about Josh Hossack and hot dogs. Just elaborate that a little bit.
Yeah, Josh was a unique individual, and he loved every game. He had 2 hot dogs right before the game. He had it worked out, and I don't know how he worked it all out with the vendors in these different rinks and everything. But you know, as soon as he got off the bus, he was looking for people and finding people. And you know, there were certain battles that you went to battles with Josh, and you know, I knew it was a stupid tradition that he had, and it made no sense to jam 2 hot dogs down your throat before a game. But you know, Josh was doing other things for me that him and I were battling on about his shift lengths and how long he'd stay on the ice and stuff like that. And I was trying to get him to be a better team player. And so yeah, I was winning some battles. So some battles I kind of let him just have his way. If that was his thing and that made him comfortable and made him play well. You know, Josh was a huge piece of us going to the finals that year. He, you know, I think we finished in 5th or 6th and had a fantastic run through the playoffs, and then lost to London in the finals. But you know, Josh really stepped up and played well for me, and I like Josh. As I said, I don't think I've ever had a player hug me so much and always asking me how I was and stuff like this. And but I have a lot of time for Josh. I know he's a different individual, but he's actually quite a sweet kid then, but a young man now. And you know, he cares. He just said he thinks of things a little bit differently than some other people do.
Now take us through going to the LHL final your first year in Niagara. Obviously, the previous year you were in it with Barrie. So how special was it as a coach to go to back-to-back OHL finals?
Well, it was actually not back-to-back. We actually lost in the semifinals my first year, and then my second year we went all the way to the finals against London with the Hamilton boys, and Stromer was on that team. He was a big part of it, and you know, it's exciting anytime. I mean, you know, the one blip in my radar is that I haven't been able to win that finals. You know, I've had great success in a lot of things, but, you know, that final series has been a tough one for me. And again, we met a fantastic teams with the Mariners and the Kachucks and all these kind of different players. But, you know, again, I really enjoyed our hockey team. Dougie Hamilton was a treat to have, you know, a star, kind of like when you talk about Alex, you know, Dougie in the same breath, that they're difference makers. And Ryan Strome, I keep in touch with an awful lot still, and he's doing so well with the Rangers now, and it's good to see that he's found a home and doing well. But you know, Friesen and Egazino, it was a really good team. It was an exciting, and we played in that little rink, the Jack there, and it was loud. I tell you, that people would line up to get in there early, and the tailgate parties out front, and so it was a really good run there from you know, the Barrie final to a really good team building in the semifinals. We lost it to Mississauga, I think, in the final there, and we ended up losing to Owen Sound, who won it that year. And then to come back and do so well the next year and make it all the way to the finals, it was a great little run there.
For sure. And a video I found on YouTube last night, I don't know if we all play the game, but game against Owen Sound in, I think it was the playoffs, you lost it on a referee. Remember that. If you do, take us through this story. And you were pretty vulgar towards that referee.
Well, I was pretty worked up. You know, the incident that kind of happened in a scrum there, and our player got punched in the face and knocked to the ice. And the next thing I know, they're putting both players in the box, and I couldn't understand why our guy deserves to go in, because, you know, from my vantage point, there was talking, but there was really nothing. And then all of a sudden, sucker punch, and away they both go. So the ref came over and basically told me that he deserved it, and because he was yapping, and that's kind of what set me off. And then, he had said a couple things in our exchanges back and forth that I didn't like, and so it wasn't a playoff game. It was getting close to the end of the regular season, and I went off a little bit deep there, and I remember the league phoning me and telling me that maybe I'm right in my interpretation of what happened, but I wasn't right in my actions of how far I took it. But at that point, there was no going back, and we had Mike Van Ryan was my assistant coach, and I think he was just making sure I didn't fall off the boards there. And it was a 5-game suspension, so I learned my lesson that you can only go so far sometimes, and you're better off just to keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely, and for the fans that don't really know, one of the Ice Dogs took a high stick, and then Strome kind of went over to the Owen Sound.
That's right.
And said something to him, just was like, "What the heck are you doing?" and gets sucker punched. And next thing you know, he's sitting in the box. It's like, oh my gosh, like you're giving this guy a penalty for getting hit. Like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't know it wasn't. I mean, I know Stromer is a bit of a trash talker out there, and but there's no penalty for that. And to take the punch that he took, it was a tough one. Still, there's times that you have to stand up for your players as a coach, I think too. And when he came over and he kind of chirped at our bench and said that he deserved it for his yapping or whatever, my whole bench heard that. It wasn't like it was just me and him having a conversation. And, that I just couldn't allow, because then sometimes it was better for me to take it rather than my players go out there and do something dumb, and get suspended. It's better for me to be the front guy there. And, I really wouldn't do anything differently right now if the same kind of thing happened.
Absolutely. Now, a few years down the road, you start coaching at the University of Brock with the men's hockey team. Just take us through how that kind of started and how it kind of has gone so far.
Yeah, I was no longer with the Ice Dogs, and I'd taken kind of a year there, and I talked to a couple teams, and my son was still in high school at that time, and we really wanted to stay in the area, which was going to be difficult because basically the Ice Dogs and then as I learned, Brock University were the only two really full-time head coaching jobs. So Neil Lumsden had reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to become part of the organization a little bit and help out with Brock. And, I was kind of iffy on that because I was still looking at the OHL. And then he talked to me a little more about becoming the actual head coach. And so we kind of went down that road, and, I was excited again to get back on the bench and coaching. I'd been helping out with my son's team in midget hockey and that, and but to get back with the older guys and, the higher level was kind of exciting for me. And so it just worked out well. And I really didn't know what I was getting into to some extent, and if I was going to like it, if it was as competitive as the OHL and that. And I loved it. It was just a great group of guys, and it still is there. And it's different because the high end guys, you don't have a Ryan Strome and Alex Pietrangelo, that kind of stuff. You don't have those players, but you really have the heart and soul type guys, like the hard working guys, and maybe not quite the talent level to get to the NHL, but guys that just love the game and have such a passion for the game. So you start putting, you get the league has got such parity in it that you put these guys on the ice, and it's fantastic hockey. Like I've got friends that have come to the games, and we don't get big crowds, compared to what the OHL get, and they're coming to the games telling me that they enjoy them. They just love the games, that how fast and how hard and clean the games are, and so it's really been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And, and again, coaching's coaching. You get players and you have an end goal, and you're all working towards the same thing. So, it's, for me, that's been my life. So, it was good to get back. And Brock has been, really fantastic to me. And I, really enjoy the job there.
And as you mentioned earlier, haven't had the best luck in OHL finals, but you had amazing luck with Brock winning a national championship. So talk about that feeling and how amazing it was to lift that trophy over your head.
Yeah, well, we got to go to the Nationals. We didn't win the whole thing there, but we got to go to the Nationals, which Brock hadn't done in a lot of years. So that was pretty exciting. And then to come out of our league like we did and to win our division and then host that trophy, that was fantastic, And really our team was a ragamuffin kind of team. I had taken over. I didn't get to recruit for it because I got the job like in August and all the recruiting was done. I think we won one out of our first 8 games, and we were playing terrible hockey. And, I basically sat down with them and said, we can keep playing like this, or else, and I'll recruit a whole new team next year, and we just get rid of this group. And or I said, we start learning how to play and caring more about each other and caring more about the game, and all the credit to those guys. I mean, they turned that year around in a fantastic playoff run, and to do something that school hadn't done in a long time. And I was fortunate enough to win Coach of the Year and stuff like that. It was a dream year coming from really nothing. Didn't know what I had, and didn't know what I was getting into, and then to have that kind of a year, it was fantastic. And we've kept building on that. I think in my second year we set a school record for wins, and I was fortunate enough to win Coach of the Year again. And so I've been very lucky. I really my hockey stories, I love them. I love playing the game, and then getting into coaching has just been the best for me.
Now, your son, Sam, was drafted by the Barrie Colts. Talk about that feeling, seeing his name there on that draft board at the under-18 draft from a team that you had worked for so many years.
Yeah, he, again, awfully proud of him. He's worked awfully hard. He loves the game like me. He's a bit of a late developer, and for him to get drafted in the midget draft was great. He plays junior hockey out in Trenton, and he's doing really well. They're going to have a real good team next year, and he'll probably come to Barrie's camp and go through the experience and that. But it's a great, I mean, for these guys, and it's something you forget about the draft. I remember sitting in the drafts, and you get to the 14th or 15th round, and it's been a long day, and you've been talking about so many kids, and I always phone every player that we draft. And I remember, and one of my first stories was in Barrie, and I remember drafting this kid in the 15th round, and we were tired, and we were talking about where we were going to go to dinner as a group, the whole scouting staff. And I said, no, I got to phone this kid and that kind of stuff. And I phoned the kid, and the family has a party going on in their house. They're all excited. And, it took me back a little bit because, I'm thinking it's a 15th round player. It's late in the draft. He's drafted 240th. But what it meant to him, and and that really changed my whole mindset of every other draft, that it doesn't matter where you get drafted. It's special to get your name called. And you never know. We've had some great players come out of the late picks. I know Barrie has too. And, Blake Siebenauer for us in Niagara was a 15th round pick, and he turned out to be a heck of a player for us. And the Cheeto boy, I think, was a late pick in Barrie, and he turned out to be a heck of a player. And so you really need to respect that. It doesn't matter, where you get drafted or when you get drafted, but if they call your name, you've got an opportunity to show something. And, I know that's why, my son was so happy too.
Absolutely. And transitioning back into Barrie here, you're the acting GM now. And next week, for the first time ever in the OHL, they're going to have a draft lottery. So just take us through how, as a GM, you got to kind of prepare for that.
Well, we had these questions all through this year. Was what are they going to do with the draft? Are they going to wait it? Are they going to do the same draft as the year before and just North Bay gets the first pick again, and what they do? And then they came up with the idea that they're going to go full lottery with a kind of a serpentine, that if you get one, then you get 40, and you get 41, and then you get 60. So it's kind of fair for everybody. But it's going to be awfully exciting next Wednesday that if you happen to win the lottery, you're going to get that first overall pick, and everybody's got a chance at it. I think the Ice Dogs, their pick is suspended, so they can't get the first pick. But everybody else, 19 teams could win that draft, and it really could set you off on a different path. Getting a star player, and so it's going to be an exciting. I know it's on YouTube, and it's going to be an exciting Wednesday night there, seeing where we pick. We thought we were going to have a pretty good team. That more than likely we would be picking later in the draft, and if we get anything in the top 10, that's going to be quite a bonus for us. And if it ever happens to be a top 5 or a number 1 pick, it's a lot of fun. So it's going to be a good night, and then a month later we have the draft. So everything's going to happen pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And now, how close was the OHL actually to returning to play?
Well, Sam, it was like we thought we were coming back. I mean, just get the time frame right here. I think it's a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we'd had a call, and we were told that that the government had approved it. Within there's going to be an announcement the next day or possibly Monday. I think we were told on the Thursday. I was was talking to the trainers and the equipment people about getting our stuff, all in line and making sure we're ready for this. And, we started, you start playing games in your head, what bubble you might go into and where you're going to go and all that kind of stuff. And within 12 hours, it all changed. Ford had made the announcement that he was locking down the province. They didn't want to talk about hockey. And everything got pulled off the table. And it was, quite a turnaround because it went from awfully exciting to pretty disappointing, very quickly. And, and then they said, well, we'll just give it a couple of days. But you could almost see the writing on the wall. As soon as it didn't happen, it was going to be tough for it to happen again. That with this lockdown and then it being extended, there was no way the time frame was going to work anymore. We needed to get going right away. And unfortunately, the pandemic just didn't allow it.
For sure. And how hard has it been those last few months, especially with the Q and WHL being able to go? How does the OHL teams kind of adjust to not being able to play in these other leagues are still going?
Yeah, I'm 57 years old, so I can handle it. But I think our players are the ones that, it's been really tough on them. I mean, some of them got lucky enough to go to Europe, like Brant Clark or Cardwell and Punnett, and a few of our guys are over there playing, but the other guys that stayed here kind of just hoping, when are we going to open up? Is it going to be January? Is it going to be February? It's happening in March, it's going to happen. And, those are the guys that we really feel for. And then you look at Bignell and Hatfield, our two overage guys that, that we were excited about having on the team this year and maybe adding a third overage to them and, and have a really good year. And then for those guys not even to be able to play again for the Barrie Colts in front of our fans and that, those are the guys that you really feel for. And, it's just one of those things. I mean, you can't, you can say sorry to the guys, but you can't really, Ontario isn't in a good thing. This is a government decision. This is a pandemic type driven decisions. This isn't hockey. This isn't the Barrie Colts saying, no, we don't want to play. Of course we want to play, but we're like everybody else. We got to follow the rules. And, the Quebec League, I don't know what people have thought. I mean, they started, they stopped, they've gone, they've played these modified playoffs now, and they've had teams that have had COVID run through the whole team and 17 players, kind of like the Vancouver Canucks. And, I don't know if they made the right decision or the wrong decision. It's not for me to say. I just know in Ontario we weren't allowed to play, and that's the hand we were dealt. And now it's kind of look forward to the lottery, the draft. Hopefully things get better this summer, and we're back playing next year. And that's the plan. And everybody's, it's kind of like it's a little bit of a relief right now that we're not talking anymore about are we going to play or aren't we going to play. That's over. We're not playing. And now it's all the exciting part is getting ready for the next years. And we got guys that we drafted, Hunter Haight, who we loved in the draft, and we took him I think 9th overall, and it's a whole year that we haven't been able to see Hunter, and now he's coming in his second year, and that's when you expect guys to be taking off and ready to go, and and Bo Jelsma and Cooper Matthews, these young guys that we drafted, they're in their second year, and we haven't even seen them play a game.
Absolutely. And another guy that we could spend hours talking about is Brant Clark, but how special of a player is that, and how special is he to the Barrie Colts organization?
Yeah, Brent's he is, he was one of the guys that I got to watch a lot, and it was hard sometimes because Reichs, when we brought him in, he wanted to win every game so bad. There was times that I didn't think Brent was out on the ice even enough. I wanted to see him on that power play, and I wanted to see him playing because I knew he was a superstar in the making. And so Reichs and I would disagree on little things like that, and he did a good job though. I tip my hat to him, and but it's Brant's going to be what he is. He was a star pick when we took him. He's going to be a top 5 or 10 or 1 overall in the NHL, and he's going to come back hopefully and have a fantastic year for us, and and help us try and win a championship next year.
Absolutely. And obviously it's kind of tough to really know what's going to happen with the NHL draft even this year. And I mean, Clark didn't have a chance to play in Barrie this year. I know he was overseas in Slovakia, but kind of upsetting as Colts fans. His second year as draft year, he doesn't get to play in front of fans, and he might not be back next year if he goes top 5. He's got the skill to be in the NHL, and we obviously are wishing him best of luck, and he definitely deserves it. But He's away at the under 18s right now. So how excited are you to be able to watch him play in that tournament? And I mean, he had 4 points his first game against Sweden.
Yeah.
Something not a lot of defensemen can do in a game against a team like Sweden.
No, it was fantastic. And him and I talked twice, I guess, before he left. And I know Mike Stuthers very well and Dave Barrie. So I told him a little bit about what those guys are about so we could understand their personalities. And they're both kind of straight-laced kind of guys. And, so I wanted him to be as comfortable as he could with them. And Mike Stuthers actually had reached out to me and talked to me about he's running the defense there for the U18s. And, and pick my brain a little bit. So I wanted to pass that on to Brent so he understood everything and, and just wish him the best. And he doesn't need me to wish him good luck because he's that skilled. And, for him to win player of the game, the first game and, and get 4 points like he did, it's pretty special. And, it's one of those that your fingers are crossed because I want him back next year and be part of our team. But then you wish the best for him. It's out of our control. And, if he is the number one pick overall and the NHL team takes him, it's one of those things that, we didn't get to see him an awful lot, but he's still part of our Barrie Cole family. That's for sure.
For sure. And obviously as an OHL GM, how exciting is it to see NHL hockey back on every night? And if you have a favorite team, who is it? And how excited are you to see them play?
Yeah, it is. I'm kind of a hockey fan. I'm not just one team type thing. It's it's more like I'm loving the Leafs this year. There's years that I haven't liked the Leafs an awful lot, and but this year, it's a pretty entertaining team, and you think maybe the maturation process for them is right at the right time right now. The Marners and the Matthews and Riley and the whole group of them is hopefully this is their time, and they've shown it with the North Division. I do think it's maybe a bit of a weaker division than some of the other ones. But, this could be their best chance in a long time to really, I think they're going to win a playoff series for sure. But, to continue and have a big playoff run and possibly, a Stanley Cup parade would be fantastic. So, but as you said, just to watch the hockey, I have the NHL station so we can watch games right till about 1 o'clock at night. And my son's a big hockey fan too. And he's yelling me downstairs with one game's gone into overtime. So we changed the channel to that game. And, so it's been fun to watch. I think you can always learn. I've got good friends that, are in the NHL that I love picking their brain. Mike Vellucci, who coached Plymouth all those years. He's with Pittsburgh now. And Mike Van Ryn, who was my assistant, with St. Louis. And those are great teams to kind of really pick his brain on about, the power play and the penalty kill and, things like that. So as a coach, you're always trying to learn and get better. And, those are great examples. And two guys that, are good friends of mine. Pete DeBoer is the same. I've talked to Pete a few times. And actually my goalie from Brock played a game for him this year. And it was a great story for us at Brock that Logan Thompson got into a game with Vegas because not a lot of guys come out of Canadian University, but it shows you can still do it. So, and Pete's been great for that organization down there in Vegas.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of the listeners, I'd like to thank Marty for coming on. It was an honor chatting hockey with you, buddy. And we wish you the best of luck going into that draft lottery. Fingers crossed. That's the first overall pick. And best of luck next season.
Thank you very much. Great to be here with you, Sam. And I look forward to getting back to the Barrie rink and seeing you in person and your dad. And, hopefully we can get this thing going. And we'll take all the luck we can have and hopefully win that lottery.